والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. سبحانك لا فهم لنا إلا ما فهمتنا إنك أنت الجواد الكريم. قل رب زدني علما. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. وأتموا الحج والعمرة لله فإن أحسنتم فما استيسر من الهدي ولا تحلقوا رؤوسكم حتى يبلغ الحج محله صدق الله مولانا العظيم. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after the mention of jihad and spending in the path of Allah, and among the characteristics of the people of taqwa and the explanation which is going to continue throughout the surah, the tafsil or the details of birr, what is goodness, what is righteousness. And so now we come to one of the pillars of Islam, the discussion of Hajj as well as Umrah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says something to the effect that complete the Hajj and Umrah, atimmul Hajj wa Umrah lillah, complete the Hajj and the Umrah lillah, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَإِنْ أُحْصِرْتُمْ فَمَا اسْتَيْسَرَ مِنَ الْهَدِيِ. And if you are prevented, this is called hisar, and there's a whole set of rules and regulations in this situation. So if it so happens that you're prevented, and what amounts to a prevention, we'll discuss that in detail a little bit later. In any case, if you are prevented, then what is necessary from istaysara min al-hadi? You will have to offer what is known as fidya or hadi, which is a sacrificial animal. And that sacrificial animal, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says now, وَلَا تَحْلِقُوا رُؤُوسَكُمْ حَتَّى يَبْلُغَ الْحَدْيُ مَحِلَّهُ. That sacrificial animal will have to reach to the place of its sacrifice. So that also has a discussion. However, before one can come out of the state of ihram, and obviously this pertains to those people who have actually entered into the state of ihram, they have worn the clothing of ihram, and they have made intention, and they have said talbiyah, labbaik Allahumma labbaik, to the end of that formula. At that point, one enters into the state of ihram. Now you cannot come out of that state of ihram except by performing either hajj or umrah, or if you are prevented, in this case, by sacrificing an animal that will be sacrificed at its place of sacrifice. However, before you can actually leave the state of ihram, you will have to also shave the head or cut the hair, and then one can exit from the condition of ihram. So we understand from atimmul hajj, this is what we call in the Arabic language sigat al-amr. It's an order that you must complete. So here, this is not actually the order that you must perform. That's, in terms of hajj, that's already been discussed in Surah Ali Imran. وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حِجُّ الْبَيْتِ مَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا. So upon, the people are to perform hajj to the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for those who have the capacity, and that means, the necessary expenditure to reach. And if they don't, there's a stern warning, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is free from them. And Nabi alayhi salatu wasallam mentions that the person who has the wherewithal and does not, in spite of that, perform hajj, then let him die as a Jew or a Christian. So it's a very stern warning, extremely stern warning. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all tawfiq. But here in this ayat, and that was probably around the year of 3 Hijri, the year of the Battle of Uhud. Now this ayat was revealed after or during the time of Hudaybiyah, the Sulh of Hudaybiyah, which took place in 7 Hijri, when Nabi alayhi salatu wasallam had intended to go for Umrah. with his companions, they left. They were prevented from entering into Haram and entering into Makkah. And as a result of that, these ayats were sent down. And what is the injunction? What is to be done in that case? So Nabi Sallallahu demonstrated what has to be done, and that is that he sacrificed his animal, he shaved his head, he left Ihram, and they went back to Makkah. However, the next year there was also one of the conditions of that treaty was that the next year they were to be allowed to come back and perform that Umrah, which had been prevented. And this is known as Umrah al-Qadha. Umrah al-Qadha. In other words, the make-up Umrah for the one which was missed. So from that, many of the jurists, among them Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah ta'ala, they consider that once you enter into an action which is, in our opinion, and in many of them, their opinion, that Umrah in and of itself is not wajib, but rather it is sunnah. Because Jabir radiallahu ta'ala asked Rasulullah that when it was mentioned that, complete this Umrah and Hajj and perform it, so is it wajib, ya Rasulullah? He said, no, but it's something very praiseworthy and very virtuous. However, there is other adillah, and some of the Ayyamah, they consider it is wajib. In any case, once we start the Umrah, what is understood from here, we have to complete it. So therefore, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself also completed that Umrah after being prevented. So if one is prevented, then according to a large number of the ulama and the A'immah, that must be completed. And similarly, any action which we have gone into, for example, if we start 2 rakats of salat, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا تُبْتِلُوا أَعْمَالَكُمْ. Don't destroy knowingly your actions. And by breaking out of salat, if there's some necessity, so that may be permissible in dire circumstances. However, we have to make it up. Similarly with a fast. There is a difference of opinion in that, but it is probably much better and much more being careful, observing caution, to make up any such type of actions, even though they're nafil that we have broken for some valid excuse. If there's no valid excuse, then we have no business, breaking a fast, a nafil fast, or breaking off from our salat. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala leave us tawfiq. Now, since we've entered into these ayats of Hajj, so they are mentioned with tafsil. So this is going to carry on for quite some time. وبالله تبارك وتعالى التوفيق وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله